The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go.
For the participants of We Stories, a book is so much more than a good story.
The mission of We Stories is to help families start and strengthen conversations about racism and show up differently. Families, when they enroll with us, they receive 4 diverse children's books per child. Those books are intended to help families get started a conversation about skin color and racial difference.
I think what We Stories is trying to do is trying to imagine a different St. Louis, imagining what a community would look like where we're living all together.
It's given us just a different lens on how we approach what we're teaching our kids and what we're putting in front of our kids. And that's really, I think, guided us into other areas where we've talked about where does race fit into these other things that we're putting in front of our kids.
The idea for We Stories began with a question.
Why are we so stuck?
Co-founders Laura Horowitz and Adelaide Lancaster found a reason to come together to make a difference.
Coming out of Ferguson, we had this big moment as a community that brought so many challenges that were well known but to the surface in a new way around race. And looking at how segregated we are, how unequal life often is between black and white citizens, we felt that there was a lot missing that kept us stuck. So, we were seeking out community in a new way. So it felt like there wasn't a more important way to show up in our community than to bring all of this together into what became We Stories.
I've got big hair and I don't care. And even though the kids may stare, I lift my hands up in the air. I smile and say, I love my hair.
Conversations begin at an early age when children are enamored with the power of storytelling.
Storytelling and stories and books allow you to enter a space that you might not be able to otherwise. My son, a lot of times, will experience something and then we'll be able to point back and be like, yeah, remember that book we read? Remember when that happened in that book? And he's able to make that point of connection.
Based on child development research about how racial bias forms in children, We Stories formed in 2015.
By age 7, we see that white children show a lot more bias than their peers who are children of color. And what's shocking and surprising to most caregivers is it actually doesn't correlate with the parents' views about race. It correlates to whether or not they talk to their children about race. So what that means is for many white families who believe they have very tolerant views, but don't actually have a habit of ever addressing race because they don't think kids notice it, or they wait till kids say something to respond, are missing this important socialization practice and window.
Families who participate with We Stories come from all over St. Louis. However,
it's very clear there's some pretty distinct patterns that differ between white families and families of color. The majority of the families who participate in our program are white. And we think that's a really good thing because it creates an opportunity to have deep and meaningful conversations about race in a place where it often doesn't happen.
And something that I really value and want to focus on as a parent is helping my children understand and see other people and be able to walk a mile in their shoes. In order to be part of any solution or any movement forward, we have to acknowledge that it's there and take advantage of the privilege we have to be part of the solution.
Families are often surprised at how much they take away from their experience with We Stories.
We often say to the parents is give yourself license to learn. Let this be about you as much as the kids. And what we hear back is that that's exactly what happens for folks, is they think they're signing up because this will be a good thing for their kids. They are happily surprised by how important it becomes for them. One of my favorite phrases that's come out of our parent community is they say, come for the book, stay for the community.
For me, We Stories has been a point of connection and of community. I've connected with people that I probably wouldn't have connected with otherwise because I know they're passionate about similar things. I think that We Stories is a space that has allowed me to show up with my full self.
Cats in the rain, cats.
We Stories believes that storytelling and community will be the catalyst for change.
I hope that our kids have an opportunity to be in this community and have people around them that look different from them, that they have really authentic relationships with, and that they can learn and grow together.
At the end of the day, what moves us to make change are the relationships that we have and the stories that we know. So when we're able to expand either of those, a lot more becomes possible. And that's basically what We Stories is all about.